in DC activism, but has actually taken steps to more permanently ground himself in DC. The organization is now called Organizing for Action, but previously it was called Obama for America and then Organizing for America. And it began in 2008 as Obama for America. Then shortly before his first inauguration, he announced a name change to Organizing for America, and this second iteration officially launched in March of 2009. It was nestled up on the third floor of the DNC, where it acted as a part of their campaign arm, and they had to mobilize support for many of Obama's policies and his voters. So while they were housed in the DNC's building, they weren't actually staffed by DNC employees, but rather by Obama campaign staffers. Now, it wasn't until Obama's re-election in 2012 that Organizing for America reorganized into Organizing for Action. Notice that he stopped Organizing for America, as if that's what he was doing anyways, and the tone shifted to Organizing for Action, trying to get people in the mindset that they need to take action and stop sitting idly by while people simply have differing opinions from them. Because, of course, it's okay to force people to pay into healthcare, but having a merit-based immigration system, no way. That's why OFA partnered with Enroll America. Enroll America is a nonpartisan, that's a lie, 501c3 organization, which means that they're tax exempt, and they strive to make sure all Americans have health insurance and retain that health insurance. Sounds good until you realize that it means they're pushing for socialized healthcare. They're not some charity that helps people who don't have health insurance by acting as their insurance company temporarily. Oh no, they want people to pay them to get you to pay for their health insurance. Not to mention that Enroll America is/was staffed by Obama campaign alumni. So that further deteriorates the nonpartisan claim. So Enroll America partnered with Organizing for Action, and OFA is a 501c4 nonprofit organization, which means it's also tax exempt, despite them having $3.6 million in net assets with $6.5 million in revenue in 2016, because this seems to be the last date that the tax returns are available for. And usually the excuse for nonprofits to hold on to this kind of money is that it's a rainy day fund in the event that contributions dry up. It would hypothetically allow them to continue operations and campaign for donations for a period of time. In OFA's case, it would be about 1 year. And even then, that's if they had essentially no contributions and they cut nothing from their organization's model. Now, between 2014 and 2016, OFA trained around 10,000 organizers, and they built an email list of 30 million people with 3 million donors. And they also claimed 2 million active participants. This is an obvious asset to the Democratic Party in both securing support and making sure that the up-and-coming generations are as messed up in their view of the world as possible. This secures further support. Now, some of the issues OFA takes a stance on include fair democracy, climate change, healthcare, immigration, gun violence, prevention, economic fairness, and expanding equality. And the purpose of this video is not to go through and just debunk all of the trash contained within each of these hyperlinks. I'm sure that many of you can guess what's behind each door, and let me tell you, this is definitely a case where you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, because most of these names are as misleading as the Affordable Care Act, which, given Obama's involvement, isn't all that astounding. Now, after the election of Trump in 2016, OFA set their focus on defending Obamacare, and they partnered up with Soros's MoveOn.org. They partnered up with the Center for American Progress, not to be confused with the Center for Industrial Progress, which is completely different. And they partnered up with Planned Parenthood. You know, that place that gets government subsidies provided out of tax dollars so they can provide abortions. They've also partnered with Indivisible Project, which has been documented using overly aggressive protest tactics against Republicans at town hall meetings, and they call Trump's immigration policies racist. But now that I've laid a bit of a foundation regarding this organization, it's time to move on to the main course of this video, and there's really two. The first big ticket item is voter fraud. Now, this is not something that I'm breaking because this was actually something that broke in 2012 by Project Veritas, James O'Keefe. I've linked their full video below, but essentially they went to the Houston, Texas headquarters of Organizing for America. The undercover journalist spoke to the regional field director and said that she was registered to vote in both Texas and Florida, and she said that she wanted to vote twice to help get Obama reelected. She was given a Florida absentee ballot and told to say, "I don't know," if questioned about voting twice. They also got approval to commit voter fraud in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. They were handing out voter absentee ballots like they were hotcakes. But if Project Veritas has taught us anything in the years after this video, it's that Democratic voter fraud has been happening for 50 years at least. So Obama's organization was certainly working to allow voter fraud to happen, and they were exposed by James O'Keefe. Now, the second big ticket item is pay to play. This was so rampant and obvious that even more left-leaning outlets were jumping on the story, doing their part to weigh in on the blatant scheme taking place. Mother Jones said that Obama is offering exclusive access for big bucks, specifically naming his Organizing for Action group. And the New York Times editorial board chimed in, saying that it's nothing more than a fancy way of setting a price for access to Mr. Obama. The reason that they said that is because it costs $500,000 to be on the National Advisory Board for the organization, and they got quarterly meetings with the then president. But for only $50,000, donors can attend a Founders Summit to mingle with OFA's chairman, who also happened to be Jim Messina, who served in the Obama White House and then helped to get him reelected in 2012. Now, John Carson and David Plouffe were two other people close to Obama that were within meeting distance for many high rollers capable of forking over 50 grand. And while OFA likes to pretend that they're a grassroots movement, the New York Times called them out, saying that the frantic pursuit of big money makes it impossible to call this a grassroots effort. So Obama offered meetings with top donors, further showing his connection to the group, and people could gain access to people close to the then president for a mere 50 grand, which honestly sounds like a lot, but to people who are playing the game of buying politicians, that's nothing. One of the people who donated over the 50,000 mark was Paul Boskind. He's made more than a dozen trips to the White House according to the visitor logs, so it's clear that these people had access to the president. And if you try to visit the actual page where the donors are listed, it's 404'd. Instead, Obama looks like he's trying to see all the accomplishments from his presidency. There was also an incident with OFA where, in 2014, Dr. Joseph Piesentile was seeking a presidential pardon for Medicare fraud and tax evasion from 1991. While his request was pending, he sent a $100,000 check to OFA, and after they initially returned the check, it was requested that the check be resent to the same address, just made out to America Votes instead, which is an OFA partner organization that doesn't need to disclose its donors. This would have kept the donation private so people wouldn't connect the dots, but journalists got to the bottom of it anyway, and when OFA realized that they were found out, they returned the check and fired the employee responsible. A lot of this information must be genuinely shocking to the people who thought that OFA was serious when they said that they're trying to tip the scales of power away from the special interests in Washington, because they're a conduit for those same special interests in Washington. I mean, this has caused Obama to settle right down in D.C. when he bought his rental home and recently had a swimming pool installed. Many of the rooms are offices for his staffers, and several high-level people have been meeting with Obama at his house, such as Tom Perez, chairman of the DNC, and Eric Holder. Initially, he was going to leave D.C. after his youngest daughter, Sasha, graduated high school. She's set to graduate in 2019, I believe, but it was 2016 when Obama said he was planning to leave D.C., and then it was mid-2017 when he bought the rental home. So things changed, and Organizing for Action might explain why. So that's all for this video. I thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't.